Hello guys, and here I shall be doing my first proper Doctor Who review. Please do enjoy the ride as I review the Three Doctors. So, as I said before, I shall be reviewing the Three Doctors, which is probably my, actually my favourite Doctor Who story of all time. I have quite a soft spot for the Three Doctors, generally because it was the very first classic Doctor Who story that I ever watched. You know, this story pretty much introduced me to the classic series, and in a way it kind of introduced me to Doctor Who itself. I feel that I got to see the more inner side of Doctor Who, which I'm actually really happy with. You know, I think that I'm not going to blab on like how I love this story because that is for a different video. I'm here to review it. So what can I tell you about the Three Doctors? Well, the Three Doctors was the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who. So it had been 10 years since Doctor Who had aired. So this was back in like 1973. Back in November, I believe it came out. But yeah, and we saw the great return of the two previous Doctors, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, to reprise their role. So yeah, this was the very first multi-Doctor story, which I think works really well. And I think, considering this was the very first time they'd done it, I think they managed to make it work, because there is so many things where this story could have gone completely wrong and probably wouldn't have made a lot of sense, but they made it work in a very good logical sense, which I'm happy about. But in terms of I think the one person I really got praise for reprising their role is probably Patrick Troughton. I think Patrick Troughton made this story fantastic. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm giving him all the credit or anything. I just think he stood out for me as, you know, it was almost like he never left the role. You know, he got straight into character straight away. You know, you were like, right, he's the second Doctor. And I loved that. The fact that he had that bumbling energy. He knew exactly where to go and where to move. And he completely took the stage, really. Pertwee's performance is great, as always. And I suppose William Hartnell's Doctor was quite well. A lot of people do say that they wish his Doctor was used a bit more. Personally, I don't. I think that it doesn't massively bother me, because I respect the reason why Hartnell couldn't have done more. But a part of me does kind of wish he got a bit more involved in the story. But I think it, to a certain extent, it kind of made sense for, you know, someone to keep the two Doctors in order and to advise them. So I kind of liked that style of having like their wiser self like telling them that, you know, to stop bickering, which I kind of liked, because that is something that Hartnell's Doctor would do. So yeah, but yeah, I think this is a great. I think what I pleasure this story for is the fact that it isn't a great big fan fest. You know, it's not like Dare the Doctor, where you're getting billions and billions of references which don't really have any connection to the story, but they're put in there anyway. Or like the Five Doctors, which, don't get me wrong, it's a great story, but it is quite a lot of fan service. You know, you're just getting pointless villains and pointless characters just returning for the sake of it being the anniversary. With this, it was just a Doctor Who story. It wasn't treated any different. I mean, yeah, I mean, these two Doctors came back into the modern Doctor's time stream, but it didn't affect, you know, Pertwee's era. Like, you didn't hear Pertwee going, oh yeah, this reminds me times of like the Ice Warriors and stuff. You didn't get any of that. You know, it was just his Doctor was there. They had to work something out. End of. I really like the use of the Time Lords. I think the Time Lords in this are quite good, because I don't think we saw the Time Lords since the War Games at this point. So it was quite nice to see that the Doctor, you know, was at a point where he desperately needs help, because the Doctor in part 1, you know, is like trapped and he has to get in touch with the Time Lords. So I thought that was quite nice to see that the Time Lords are literally under siege. They've got absolutely nothing they can do, because they've never seen such a big, powerful power, and it is draining them. Which I thought, okay. I wasn't sure on the whole budget cut. I know this is quite a picky thing when they've got like the paper tissue discs, which I actually thought to start with it was almost like, I don't know why, but I had the feeling that he had these lines written on there, because like I noticed a lot that he would say something and then he'll go, yeah, but that's just me, you know, that's my instinct, because I've worked in theatre and I know these things, but I might be wrong. He might just generally be looking at that blank bit of paper. I don't know. So I can't really say anything. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've mumbled on a bit. I might have to try and explain it. But yeah, the general plot of this story is that, you know, we get introduced to a character called Dr. Tyler, who's been studying on this thing. Like, I don't know how to explain it. He's basically studying on this sort of weird organism thing. Apparently people go missing, described as some sort of explosion with a big flash. And then obviously we find out that it is this weird organism, multicolourful blob thing, which is trying to track the Doctor and keeps mistaking the Doctor for lots of different things, which, you know, general Doctor Who stuff, as you do. We are later with the Doctor in trouble. The Time Lords need to work out a way to help the Doctor. They can't help the Doctor, so they decide to make the Doctor cross his own time stream in order to help him. But obviously it goes all to be wrong, and the two Doctors bicker. I actually love the bickering between the two Doctors, because it's exactly what the Doctor would be like. It was almost like seeing what the Doctor does in his head. It's almost like in his head he likes to argue with himself a lot, so to see it on the screen, him arguing to himself, I thought was actually quite fun, because it really shows you how different these two Doctors are. Because obviously Pertwee is quite a standard, very well-mannered sort of bloke, whereas the second Doctor is quite the cosmic hobo, and, you know, loves a bit of prancing around. So yeah, I think this character was quite good for the companions as well, because obviously in this, it was the Brigadier's first time in the TARDIS. In fact, this was probably the best we had ever seen Pertwee's TARDIS, because the set for Pertwee's TARDIS in his era is awful. It is absolutely awful. But in this story, I think it was probably the best we was ever going to see it. Prove me if I'm wrong, but I personally think that this is the best I've seen the TARDIS console of the Pertwee era. But yeah, we not only it's the Brigadier and Sergeant Benton. They've never been in the TARDIS before, so I kind of like the fact that we got to see that experience, because it was something that, you know, we wanted to see as fans. I can imagine at the time a lot of fans probably thought, oh, the Brigadier's not really a companion because he hasn't travelled in the TARDIS. Technically he did, within that. So I was quite happy that they sort of, you know, they sort of summed that up, saying they are companions, they've been in the TARDIS. I also like seeing Jo Grant's character as well. I think this is quite a good piece for Jo Grant, genuinely, because I honestly think this is probably one of the best performances Jo Grant, Katie Manley had ever done. Generally because she was the eye of the audience the whole time. which I really, really like, because again, like I said towards the beginning of this video, I said that there's so many ways this story could have gone wrong, because you've got audience members sitting there watching it with so many questions which needed answering, and I think Kate done that superbly. Joe was actually asking questions, what us as an audience were thinking, which I feel that Doctor Who seems to not do very well, especially in new series. But with this, Joe was actually asking the questions that I was asking, and I was sort of going, this is actually good, because it sort of gives you a bit more of an understanding of, what the hell is happening. And I really appreciate Kate for doing that, because I think that she had quite a big job to play. She had to literally try and get it clear to the audience how these two doctors are in that same place, which I thought was absolutely brilliantly done. But yeah, I was absolutely happy with that. Another thing which I really liked, I've obviously got to talk about, is the villain. Now, we was introduced to a very new and exciting and mysterious villain. So, we're in this antimatter world. The Doctor and Joe basically find out that this organism has sent them to the thing that Dr. Tyler was working on, into the black hole, fast, and it is believed that they have gone faster than light. So the Doctor and Joe have basically, they've arrived at this place, and then they're obviously introduced to this mysterious villain, which is believed to be known as Omega. Now, I really like how Omega was introduced, because obviously the Doctor, as soon as the Doctor's the Doctor even sees this person, it's like he knows who he is straight away, and he's like, you can just tell by the Doctor's face that this isn't any ordinary villain. This is, seeing the Doctor afraid, you sort of think this is a serious situation, which I sort of went, wow, where is this gonna go? But yeah, it is believed that Omega was in a way, that he was the very first Time Lord ever, because he was the Time Lord that created time travel possible. So yeah, in a way, you could see him as a god, or as a saviour of Gallifrey, but for making this gift, he's been trapped in this world for so long that the loneliness is, it's made him lose his marbles a bit, and he's literally created a whole world around him of all his things that his will makes him do, which I thought was quite interesting. Because I did think, oh, this is going to be one of those mind tricks villains. Well, that's what you would think when you're watching it anyway. But I think as the story goes on, you do see Omega more as a character. You actually get an understanding that, he was very much like a Time Lord, like the Doctor, who was trying to make a difference. And the fact that he's been treated in this way, you sort of think, oh my god, it's driven him mad. But then after a while, you sort of pity Omega, and you sort of want to help him. But then towards the end, you sort of realise that he is a big nutcase, and he's just hungry for power, like most Doctor Who villains. I think the pacing for this story is quite good as well. I think, each scene goes quite quickly and quite snappy, so which I really like. But Omega, fantastic. Honestly, one of my favourite Doctor Who villains ever. Really, he's just amazing. All the scenes with Omega, he scares the life out of me. He's generally, I can imagine being a child in those days, I would have been terrified. The amount of scary scream jumps he does is just like, wow. I think the set as well for like Omega's Palace was brilliant. I mean, yeah, it's only a bit of tinsel and bits of bubble wrap and stuff, but you know, it must have took a lot of effort to make that. And I actually really liked the set. I was sort of thinking, oh my god, you know, the sort of style they were going for. I just thought, wow, this is like, it's brilliant. I think although the story is very well paced, I have to admit there are certain scenes or certain parts where the story sort of loses the ball a bit. You know, there are bits where, you know, there's literally just lots and lots of talking. Like, especially that scene where the Doctor, where it's like the second Doctor, the Brigadier and Sergeant Benton, you know, when they have that long scene where, you know, he's doing the walkie-talkie and stuff, I found that scene did drag a bit, and it did feel a bit like, oh, can we just get back to the action? Can we, like, get on with it? Which, I'm not really someone who likes all the action. I do like the talky scenes, but there were a lot of scenes which it was just lots and lots of talking, and you're like, especially that scene where the Doctor and Dr. Tyler and Joe are like in that corridor and they're just saying, oh, is he gonna run, is he not gonna run, and you're just like, for goodness sake, just make your bloody mind up. But yeah, but I think this scene here, which is going on, I think this scene makes Doctor Who history. This is my favourite scene out of the whole story, and probably out of Doctor Who history. Like, I literally just remember the whole of it. You know, literally remember that whole scene because it's that memorable and it's that snapping quick. Because I love how, you know, Pertwee and Troughton just bounced off each other. But yeah, I do wish Hartnell had been given a bit more to do, because I think Hartnell and Pertwee's Doctor, I think, would have probably have had a bit more of an understanding, because they're like the sensible Doctors, whereas Troughton was quite the ridiculous Doctor. But in many ways, he was kind of like the Matt Smith of this era. So, like, yeah. What else can I say? Oh yeah, in this story, the Time Lord's also forgiven. They give the Doctor back the materialisation circuit, I believe it was, meaning that he can now finally go back to his time travelling days, which is fantastic. You know, which I think is brilliant, because I think it made all Doctor Who fans like really excited, because you sort of thought, oh, I really can't wait to see what's going to happen next year, like what sort of adventures we're going to get. So I think a lot of fans would have been quite happy with that. But all in all, what can I say about this story? It's just fantastic. It really is. Like, considering this is probably my grammar's literally really bad today. I think I've watched this story the most, more than any Doctor Who story that I own ever. I've probably watched it so many times. And this DVD it's so old for me. Like, I've owned it for like nearly, what, 9 years now? Yeah, and the fact that, you know, I've had this DVD for 9 years and it's still running and it's still watchable is incredible. And it's a DVD that I'm always going to treasure. But honestly, I think it is definitely by far the best multi-Doctor story. It beats Day the Doctor without doubt, because I think Day the Doctor is just an overrated story which people need to forget about, because it wasn't that good, alright? But anyway, back on topic, I would actually rate this story a 9.5 out of 10. I would have given it a 10. I think there were a couple of hiccups that I had. If I gave it a 10 out of 10, I think that'd just be wrong, because I just don't like giving things 10 out of 10, because there's always, you know, it could be better. Like there's always room for improvement, because if I say something's a 10 out of 10, I just think that's just not being reasonable. I just think that's just being a bit over the hype. But yeah, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. It is definitely a story I'd recommend if you've not seen it. I do believe I have shown Hannah this before, and she actually really enjoyed it as well. So I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, so yeah, that is my review of the Three Doctors. I'm not sure if I'll do another solo review anytime soon. I am thinking about doing a review with Hannah. I'm not sure what story it's going to be. It may be a Sylvester McCoy story. I don't know yet. But I will keep you updated who are a part of the Facebook group. But yeah, if not, then you're just going to have to wait and see. Okay, I will see you guys around, and thank you for watching this video. Please do like and comment and tell me what you think of this story, because I'd be very interested in that. Okay.